So with that, we will move to our next speaker. It's Dr. Bunyamin Tar'an, who is the Associate Professor and Chickpea Breeder at the Crop Development Center. He also holds the Agri-Food Innovation Chair in Chickpea Breeding and Genetics. Bunyamin will be presenting an update on chickpea variety development. So with that, I will turn it over to Bunyamin.
Okay, thanks, Laurie and Jasmine for organizing this, and good afternoon, everyone. I wish I can be there in the same room that we can chat as in the previous years. However, when we start thinking that COVID is almost under control, new variant coming, and we are back to the small room where everybody is sitting right now. So hopefully it will change the next year or so. Let's hope. So I'd like to give you a short update, perhaps, on the chickpeas, what's coming in 2022. Okay, so this is the data I just summarized. Not everything I put in here that you see on the 2022 seed guide or characteristics of the chickpea varieties. So you notice here there are 3 new varieties that are listed here at the bottom here: CDC Lancer, Orkney, and CDC Kala. So there are 2 Kabulis and 1 specialty chickpeas, Black Daisy, CDC Kala. Kala, I pick up the name from the Sanskrit, meaning black. So that's how it's the name coming from. So we have over 3 years data, and they were released in 2021. So you can see here the summary of those data of those trials in column in area 1 and area 2, which is brown soil zones and dark brown soil zones. So quite strong for Lancer. So it's kind of medium, large Kabuli, and CDC Orkney, another one, same. So quite strong on both locations. And the other one is Black Daisy. So it's kind of more comparable to the Czech B90. So again, but this Black Daisy, although it's very small market, this is probably one of the earliest maturing chickpeas that you can see. So for example, under normal condition, whatever this normal is, the condition we have. So this is one of the earliest maturing chickpea varieties. So if you look at on the seed size, it's presented there. So medium, large Kabuli, and then small Daisy. And on the Ascocaita, again, the Black Daisy is one of the smallest, whereas the other 2 new Kabulis are on the kind of medium, large seed size. I mean, medium for Ascocaita as well. But the other aspect of these 3 new varieties, if you see on the last column, they are all tolerance to the imazamox herbicide, the IMI type of herbicide. So this is another option for you to use if you want to kind of control the broadleaves. But again, use this herbicide kind of cautiously, because you see the incidence of the weed become tolerant is increasing. So you have to use, like, follow the properly the guide in the label. Make sure you kind of you rotate the use of herbicide. Okay, so use it kind of carefully if you want to use. But the trade is there, available, and for you, free to use. So this is the trials where we had in 2021. It was certainly kind of a harsh experience with you and with us as well. So overall, we saw the yield data down at least 35% to under normal, or in some areas even more kind of a drop in yield. So we try to make use the trials and across the locations. So you can see, for example, the mean yield data across location, and this is the average for all entries that we had in each location. You can see Swift Current likely is quite low, and the other one on the dark brown still kind of on the average yield that we have. We dropped 1 location at Elros due to really severe drought. Okay, so it's not even worth it to combine those regional tests in that location. So we kind of on my breeding, this is one of my largest breeding nursery, unfortunately, at that row. So we kind of did more like a salvage mode. We pick up anything valuable at the early generation, for example, that we can kind of revive for this year. So hopefully it's better this year. So you can see we didn't use that location for the long-term data for regional tests. So this is all the summary from 2021 across the 6 locations that we have. So you notice here in 2021, we, in addition to AMID, which is the check, long-term check that we use, which is non-CDC varieties. So in 2021, we had 2 new entries, which are non-CDC varieties at the bottom here. So Casin was bred in Cordoba in Spain many years ago by the breeder named Juan Gil. So I know him personally as well. And then the other one is Andy Crown, North Dakota Crown from NDSU. It's a large cabuli. Casin is smaller cabuli. Nice growth habit, a bit tall plant. So, and this is the yield capacity, the yield compared to B90 or AMID in 2021, only 1 year data. You can see which one that kind of maintaining the yield and which one kind of lower on the yield capacity under the conditions in 2021. Okay, so we have the data from 6 locations. So Orkney and Lancer kind of still on the top, and Pearl is the new one that released in 2021. So kind of small kabuli type, ideally can be used for hummus quality. So it's still on the top on this condition in 2021. So unfortunately, those 2 new entries are at the bottom here. And then keep in mind that these 2 entries, non-CDC, they are non-IMI tolerant. So you have to be careful if you grow these 2 varieties. Whereas the others, so in our program, we move all varieties to become IMI tolerant. So you have an option for your weed control there. So these are the new entries in 2021, new regional first entries. So I ranked them based on the highest to the lowest yield capacity, as well as the seed size. All of them are tolerant to imazamox or solo ADV if you look at the label. So there are potential a number of lines here. We start developing the pre-breeder seeds on this. Few of them already kind of in like 100 kgs available. So we'll continue to make selection and for potential release in the next couple of years. So we're still going to continue testing these varieties, and especially in location where we see the ascochyta. So we know that there's some potential yield here. So the next step is we want to look into which one is stand out under condition where ascochyta pressure is increasing, because in the last 2 years I didn't see much of ascochyta. Even in our nursery, we don't see much of ascochyta as well. So I didn't score for ascochyta in 2021. 2020 there was a little bit, but not as in normal conditions. Okay, so this is just a couple of pictures to show. This is the new varieties. CDC Sunset was released in 2021, a Daisy type, a high yielding, and a nice seed quality, so kind of a light tan color. This is kind of a picture thanks to Dana Raymond, if she's in the audience here. So she took this picture, and on the scale, I think she took it using her cell phone. And this is the Black Daisy, CDC Kala, was released in 2021 as well, compared to the other 2 type of Daisy. And this is CDC Lancer and CDC Orkney. You can see comparable the seed size compared to Leader, Frontier, and B90. So Lancer kind of a slightly larger than Frontier, but it's smaller than Leader, and Orkney kind of comparable to Leader. This is probably this is the seed from 2020. I'm not sure 2020 or 2021, which is under dry conditions. So under normal, probably is a little bit larger what we saw in the previous years of testing. And this is the new two new varieties that released in 2021: CDC Pearl, which is 3647, and CDC Pasqua 3652. So Pearl is kind of small cabuli. You can see by looking at the morphology of the seeds, kind of more like a smooth surface, almost similar like B90, but B90 more like a round. This is still a kind of normal cabuli, but a little bit more kind of less ribbing, so-called. And this is kind of a good quality for food processing. And Pasqua is a larger quality, so probably similar to Orion, CDC Pasqua. And is also both are tolerant to imazamox. Okay, and this is the trial in Moose Jaw 2021. So you can see they had quite a bit enough moisture in at the beginning. I think up to like half of the growing season, there's still enough moisture, but still quite dry at the end. So the yield is about average from these locations. And this is in Lucky Lake. Okay, so plants are a bit kind of much shorter than normally, I would say. Very dry as well, so not much rain, and then yield kind of maybe half of the normal we would get from that location. And this is the new location that Lori picked up in Avonlea. So I pick up these new varieties with this CDC 3550-12. So this is kind of medium size cabuli type, kind of yield about comparable to the Czech, about 2-3% up to 5% of the Czech B90. One thing I choose this one is that in 2019 during the F6 or elite test at Limerick, there were kind of big Ascochyta disease pressure in the area where you can see a lot of Ascochyta, and then this line here really stand out. And even in our trials in Saskatoon as well, after that, this one is quite clean. So I pick up this one for this Ascochyta. So hopefully if we get to the normal year, so in breeding, a little bit of disease pressure is good so that we can select the good from the bad. So if we get some moisture and then we see how they actually grow under that conditions, then we can make a further selection for this Ascochyta. So again, in our management, I said this many times during the meeting. In our breeding program, we normally only sprayed twice. So the first spray usually around the 8 to 10 node stage with fungicide, and then after that we just wait and see if there is rain, then we spray again. If not, then we just leave it as it goes. So the end of the day, you may get some disease, but that's a kind of more the realistic option. Instead of we spraying 3, 4, 5 times just to get the good yield, but we leave it up to nature part of it. So this is the objective of the breeding program. Just a reminder to you, yield is still our utmost important characteristic. Resistant to Ascochyta blight, early maturity, improved weed management. So we look into options how we can have a more kind of conventional. If we can see any variability for herbicide tolerance, then we use it. And seed quality, mostly the visual seed quality, size, shape, color. And we also start looking into composition, protein, oil, carotenoid as well, but it's not on the mainstream because that's a kind of requires some wet chemistry and quite expensive at the moment. So with that, like Tom said, we really appreciate the help from the Crop Science Field Lab. Sorry, my phone. crop science field lab breeding staff for maintaining the plots, starting with 2020, 2021. 2020 was really challenging because of the restriction from the COVID situation. 2021, kind of we have some relax, but still we exercise caution when we did all the trials. So they did really good job to get the trials done. And Kernan Research Farm and Breeder Seed Facility staff, especially Dave Benawak and Craig Howells. And then for Chickpea especially, I really appreciate their help, because in Chickpea, the breeder seed increases were done in the far south, the closest one, probably at Moose Jaw area, and then some of the lines we increased down south, south from the Limerick area. So it's quite an effort to get there, to combine and maintaining the plot. So we really appreciate their help in that regard. And our cooperators, of course, for our breeding trials, for our regional tests, and for our seed increase. So I thank you for your support, for your help, for your willingness to use part of your land for our trials, and the CDC Pulse Pathology Group for the helping with the disease screening, and Green Innovation Lab, Jean Arganosa, for helping with oil, protein. So we're developing now some NIR for protein and oil in chickpeas. So hopefully we can look and use that in selection for the advanced material once we verify the model that we have. So I thank you all for all your help. So the breeding support, Government of Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan Pulse Growers, Western Grain University. So I thank you for all continuing support to the Chickpea program. Thank you. And I'll be happy to answer questions if you have. Thanks.
Thank you, Bunyamin. That was a great presentation. And, you know, after having just released 4 great varieties, it's nice to see that there's some really strong candidates coming up in the pipeline. So we really appreciate that.